All right, hopefully that works. I guess we'll see, eh? Okay, ready when you are.
All right, and welcome to another episode of Ticket to Gamehendge, the podcast where we explore and discuss the scientific ways to get your friends and family to love our favorite band, Phish. Got a few things to talk about this week. Not a lot of topics, but I think we're going to get into it a little bit. So, what's funny? After listening to all of the podcasts over the past little while, I realized I say the word "so" way too often. You need to help me with that. When I say it, call me out. Yeah, it's every so. I'm going to stop that.
You know what it is? It's a transition word. You're organizing your thoughts.
Yes, I think you're right. Now that I'm aware of it, though, I'm going to try to curb it a little bit just so it's not so saturated.
You said so twice, so it's not so saturated.
We should do a drinking game every time I say the word
so.
Wouldn't
last long, buddy.
Take a shot.
I'm a lightweight.
Is there a Phish drinking game? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's multiples out there.
There's got to be.
We got to look that up when we get together.
Every time someone says a song that Phish has a song named after, or a word.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So let's talk about, I guess, the two main topics. I think they overlap. You put something out there. I put something out there. I think there's some correlation there. I'm going to start with the post that you put out there to sort of source the community about going from maybe not liking a song or something for that matter, and then transitioning into when you do like it and what happened along the way and what made it click. So I'll read your post. It happened just this morning. Phish Radio played Split Open and Melt, and I caught myself saying, I love this song. Then I reflected on when I first listened to Phish. I didn't love Split Open and Melt. I'm interested in your thoughts. Has something similar happened to you? And can you recall what made the song click? And you got a pretty good response. A lot of people talking about the songs, but not necessarily what made them click. And I think, that's something that I want to talk about because I have a lot of examples of that. Can you remember when Split Open and Melt made it click for you? Or was that why you posted that question? Because you're like, when did this happen?
Yep. So I can actually remember. It was, I was meal prepping and I was listening on my earbuds. And when the long middle jam, it was a solid jam, and they were coming back to the main theme, the right? And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I was like, I think I like this song now. Because when I first heard it, it was, again, my ear wasn't really developed, and it sounded like a bunch of noise at the beginning, right? But then you start listening to shows and you hear it a bunch of times, and and then you have a moment like that, and you're like, wait a minute, this is incredible. What have I been missing this whole time?
Are there any other songs that are like that? Like, can you sort like specifics of when it clicked, certain jams, certain versions?
Yeah. So I mean, no, but I'm always fascinated in, because I'm super analytical, right? So I'm always fascinated in like why these things happen and how these things happen. And sure. I was thinking during your post, I know we'll talk about it in a second, but I was like, man, there's no songs anymore where I'm like, this is a bummer. Like, it was hard. It used to be, I never loved No Man and No Man's Land. I like the song, right? Like, eventually I think what happens is there's parts of it that sound familiar and that sound good, like good enough to be like, this is a really good part to the song. Like, so good that I don't mind hearing it, or I will actually seek it out to listen to it if I get a chance. And once you're there and you hear, like, because all the parts are musical, right? It's not like it's like my kids making music where they just like bang, 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 bang. You're like, oh my God, this is noise. Every part is musical in the sense that it follows the general rules and ideas of what music should sound like, right? So it's all valid music. And after a while, you're like, I don't know, this is good, right? And then you develop a couple good memories to like, oh, hey, this is when, this happened. This is when, so-and-so got punched or had the beer spilt all over them. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I love this song.
Yeah, again, coming back to the nostalgia and the memories that get attached to it. I definitely have some examples of that. It's interesting. I think back on that question. I don't think of a Phish song, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I think specifically about a Dave Matthews song. When an album, and you might remember this, you might not. in the summer of 2001, an album called Live in Chicago came out. That was a show that was recorded in 1998 by Dave. And it opened with a song called The Last Stop. And on the album, it's not a great song. It just really isn't all that great. And I had never, I think it was 2001. We didn't have access to the live content that we do now. And for the most part, around that time, it wasn't a song that the band played a lot. So I went to White Oaks Mall, bought it on CD, which we've spoken about, made the effort to go, spent my hard-earned money, put it in my Discman or whatever I had, and walked home, and it was the first track. And it just grabbed me in a way that song had never grabbed me before. Same song, the live, the energy, how great it sounded. I can remember walking by Nicholas Wilson and cutting through that field and hearing the part of the song that really opened up my eyes to how great it can be live. And with Phish, I don't think I have a specific one. I have an example coming up. But in the past year, there's been a lot of listening. And I think of going into it about a year ago, not knowing a ton of songs, not knowing them well, thinking at first, like, okay, this sounds okay, but just sticking through it, knowing it was going to go somewhere, giving it a chance, hearing what the band was going to do in the jam, where they're going to go from there. And that just repetition, to your point, over and over again. It makes me, I was thinking about this, knowing that we were going to talk about today. I think about things like wine, beer, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee. Those are all things you don't like the first time you try them. You don't like those things the first 5-10 times you try them, but you keep going back. Right? Yeah. When we were growing up, we started hanging with our friends and we would drink beer. I didn't like beer. Yeah. I didn't like the taste. We go to the beer store. What are you going to get? What are you going to get? Like I'm some aficionado. I couldn't tell you the taste difference between Bud Light, Budweiser, and Heineken. It was beer, right? It was a delivery device to get me feeling the way I wanted to feel, or so I thought I wanted to feel. But after a couple of years of drinking that, wine, whatever it is, you develop a taste for it. But my thought is, and my question has always been, why do we keep going back to those things if they don't taste good? If you try Phish, and I mean the meat, the actual dish, not the band, for the first time and you don't like it, you're probably never going back to order that piece of fish again, are you? But we do it with coffee, with alcohol, and with all of these other things. Is it the social pressures? Is it the external influences and people telling you it's great and it's going to be good that keeps us doing that?
No, it's because you get something. You get something. You get drunk.
You get the return on the investment is what you're saying.
You get something, man. When you're a kid, you get drunk. You have that feeling, right? And then, like, I don't know, you have the courage to talk to that girl you liked or, you have that. So you have a payoff to it. Like with coffee, I kind of like the buzz, Like you drink it, you're like, holy shit, I'm ready to go.
I don't feel that with coffee.
Not anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I guess if I stopped and quit for a couple of years and then came back to coffee, maybe I would.
Yeah, but I think, and again, I think this links back to the music really, really well, is there's a payoff, right? Like there's certain, it's tough. So another example is modern hip hop. I've tried like ad nauseum because I like hip hop music. I can't. There's no payoff. Like there is 0% of the songs that I like. There's nothing awesome in there for me. It's like modern country too. Like there's no payoff. Like I listen to this, I'm like, there is nothing that brings me joy here. And every time I try, I come back to the same thing. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, I feel defeated. I'm like, I can't. This is awful. Like I just can't do this.
Yet there are the equivalent of us on that hip hop side of things. Two guys maybe doing a podcast that love it so much and talk about it in the same context you and I do with Phish. It makes you wonder, all the different things that shape you into liking what you like and why you like it. It's it's a bit of a mystery, I think.
That part is a mystery. Like knowing it would be impossible to understand. Like you can understand elements of the things that you like, but like keep in mind, like a lot of this stuff I think is formed when we're not really conscious, right? Like it's formed when we're developing like really, really early. And then it kind of gets developed through the years,
I'm just going through your post and some of the answers on here. I actually dislike Tweezer. This is from Down, 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 Melt. I actually dislike Tweezer to start out, but all of a sudden one day, I was listening to like 5 different versions in a day. and started playing it all the time. I used to think Ghost was kind of boring, though I like the lyrics, but now I love that song. Carini, I didn't like until I saw it live. I think that's common for a lot of people. The experience will draw you in.
Yeah.
In 46 Days, I used to not like, but every time I watch the band shred it, I like it that much more. And your response was great. Interesting how you listened to a song you didn't like 5 times in one day. Because who else is doing that? Like, is it everyone else likes Tweezer? I gotta like Tweezer. I gotta figure it out. So you listen to it nonstop? No wonder.
Well, there had to be there had to be a payoff, and maybe in this circumstance, because you can't judge the payoff, right, for an individual. Like there's so many things that we would never even consider would be payoff.
Yeah. My wife and I joke all the time about what I initially thought of songs. Pebbles and Marbles. First, it was, this song is a goddamn mess. Now it's, I can't believe how amazing this song is. No idea really what happened to change it. I just remember listening to it one day, not getting it, and then the next day laughing at how much of a numbskull I was. Haha. It's I think sometimes things need to marinate. Sometimes I think it's timing, but it is a really interesting thing to discuss. What helps you make that leap? I didn't like Sand. Then I listened to 12, 13, 99. Now I like Sand. Is it a certain version? Is it where you were? Yeah, it's I find it really, really interesting. See if there's anything else in here worth calling out. This was a good one. I'm going to read this post. This is from Locust the Lurker 555. Sometimes their songs just need to grow on you a bit. I categorize their songs into one, pick up and jam, can pick up and listen easily for newbies. And those would probably be like your Free, Farmhouse, things that are more along the lines of like a pop rock, I would suppose. Maybe the answer to the question of what are your songs to try to get somebody into Phish. Those are the ones that you'd probably pick. 2, need to listen a couple times, 2 or 3 times through, then you get it. And last, 3, need some courage. Songs that the listeners need to experiment with Phish's other songs to acquire the courage and openness to experiment with something new and different. Sometimes just listening to new songs a couple times, they get stuck in your head, then you go back, re-listen, then you're hooked. For me, probably one of the songs that took the longest to grow on me was Reba. I think mainly due to the way it's sung and then some of the shiftiness and choppiness of the song. Yes, I realize some of those words are not in the dictionary, but listening to Phish has opened different parts of my mind, the creative side, and also due to the unique physical aspects of the band. Basically, they're so unique, I couldn't use existing words to describe them.
So I think Reba's a really interesting song because you have a lot of like quote weirder elements according to pop music, right? So you have a very interesting melody. You have a middle section that is very dissonant, and the tempo and even though the timing is 4/4 during the middle time, they're playing all over the place. It sounds really all over the place the first time you hear it, and the jam is in a mode called the Lydian mode, so it sounds really spacey, and it sounds awesome now, right? But what hooks you the first time you hear Reba is the chorus because it's familiar.
Tag it. Anybody can sing along. I didn't know Reba that well when we went in 2000, and that was the opening song. And by the end of it, I was singing along. I remember turning to you going, like, what is this? And fans freaked out because they knew it was a classical tune. And but the rest of it seemed messy to me, 100%.
Right.
100%.
And then it takes, like he said, he was descriptive, but I think it's a great example because you have a chorus that is really, and let's be clear, right? Like the one of the things that Phish does well, probably the best musically, is create contrast. Because the weirder that you get and the more out there it gets, and then when you bring it back to something that sounds so familiar and so melodic, you're just like, holy shit, this part sounds amazing.
Yeah. They really kind of plant the seed, go away for a bit, and then hook you back in. It reminds me of, and I'm kind of bummed that he took them down, but the guy that we used to watch on YouTube, the Guitargate guy, and when he was doing his deep dive on Down with Disease, I'm not musically inclined. I love music, but I don't know it on the theoretical level. And I remember him going into talking about like the main part of the song and the chorus, and then going to the jam. They follow the same kind of notes, but you don't know it. They've tricked you into recognizing how good it is because they've already played those notes over here. They're playing in a different way over here, and your brain is subconsciously making that connection. Like, I know this melody, I like it, even though I've never heard it before. You're already trained to appreciate it because they've already planted that seed for you. Great songwriting. and you probably hear it in their songs way more than I would. You can probably name a dozen songs where that kind of happens.
No,
They go away.
I'm just more conscious of it, right? But that's what the cool part about music is, like this is gonna happen. There's actually a really cool YouTube video. This guy recorded a video on like music illusions.
Okay.
So he talked about how like Escher, created like the winding staircase that just keeps going up or just keeps going down. And he was like, I'm looking for, places in music, and he's a composer too. So he's like, I'm looking for musicians or composers who would use like illusions to make you think that something's happening that's not happening. Right? It's just really, it's a great YouTube video. But I mean,
send me that link.
Sure.
I'll check that out if you send it to me. Yeah.
For sure. But like he uses and Phish uses some of the techniques too, right? Like the part in Foam, or not Foam. Is it Foam or Fluffhead? No, Foam. I'm falling, and it just sounds like it keeps going down and down and down.
Deep
right?
well.
But
yeah.
It's not. It's the way that the notes are played and the way that they cycle through the parts. One's fading out and the other one's fading in with their voice, which is incredible when you really think about the technical ability to pull that off live. But it sounds like, it's an ever descending. You're like, holy shit, how far is this going to go?
Maybe I'm speaking about the wrong thing, but I think I remember in an interview, Trey talking about listening to, I want to say it was a movie composer, that was the first time he learned that you can layer in, I'm getting this all wrong, but it was a matter of layering in notes that are seemingly never ending, I think is what the terminology was. Like he learned that he could combine certain notes to create a perception that you're just going to keep going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, even though you're actually not. I'm trying to think of what it's from.
I haven't heard that interview, so I'm not sure. I can't comment. But okay. I mean, yeah, it's a musical technique, right? So, and like and it's full of that's what when we were talking about it before. It's all musical, is what I'm trying to tell you, right? Like if your ear's not trained and you hear Reba, you're like, this is a mess. Unless you know what you're listening for, right? But if you can show somebody or explain to somebody or, give them the audio cues and you can develop the ear, now you hear, you're like, oh man, this is amazing. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Even though you can't, even though you don't know what it is that you necessarily understand, like it makes sense. You can hear what's happening.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I find the whole thing really fascinating, and I'd be curious to hear what other people have experienced with that. And you got a good response there, which is nice. It's a great topic because it is one of those bands. And again, I'm coming back to the Guitar Gate guy. The first time he was reacting to, I think, Punch You in the Eye, and there was a major change, and he was like so confused by it. This is a guy that has been played in bands, is teaching the guitar, and he clearly didn't know that song, and it really threw him for a loop. And you and I just hear it as a Phish song because we're so used to hearing that change. But the first time you hear it, if you're used to pop music, which most of us were, yeah, it's a really big switch. But it's one of the best things of the band.
It's funny that you bring it up because like Punch You in the Eye, when I was learning the tempo, I could never get the hey part right because it's right.
It's on the backbeat.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that song, Punch You in the Eye, was stuck in my head for no word of a lie. I would say about 10, 11 years. Whenever I would whistle, that's the tune that would come out of my whistle. Right? Yeah, without doubt. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit, but I think we're going to keep along the same line. So every week I post the top 3. Usually get a pretty good response in terms of upvotes and likes and all that stuff is very positive. As I was posting this one the other day, I thought, what am I going to get out of this? And I'm really, really glad that I did. So I wrote, other than Prince Caspian, what are your top 3 bathroom break songs? I want to clarify a couple of things. I put Prince Caspian in there because you and I have talked about.
You should have clarified when you wrote it.
Right. Perhaps. And maybe I don't want to dumb it down for some of the fans. I would have assumed that most fans would have known why I put Prince Caspian in there. I obviously got some people saying, I don't know what's wrong with that song. I wouldn't put it in there. I didn't post what are the top 3 songs you hate. It was top 3 bathroom break songs. Like I'm thinking, I don't want to miss a part of the show either. I don't. But if I got to go, I got to go. And I'm going to pick my moments. You know what I mean? I mean, if nature calls, what are we going to wear, a diaper? Which for the record, some people do. I did learn that. It's a thing that some people, I don't know about Phish fans, but for festivals and long concerts, adults will wear diapers to the show so that they can keep their spot and not have to go. Which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about standing beside somebody who's taking a number 2 in his shorts while I'm sitting there trying to jam out, but it happens. So I got a pretty big response. And there were a few common songs that people didn't like, but it was more so just people being critical of those that have put it on there. You wrote, so I'll put my three up there: Kill Devil Falls, Poor Heart, and Alaska. To back this up a step, I've gone back to the beginning of 3.0 and I'm listening to that. And I'm maybe 10, 15 shows into 3.0. And half of them open up with Kill Devil Falls. It was a new song to the band at the time. They were really stretching its legs and trying to play it live and get used to it. It was just one of those things, I think, at the time when I wrote this, I was hearing it a lot. Poor Heart, although quick, it's just not my thing. And yes, I can pee really fast. Somebody wrote Poor Heart. How fast can you go pee? I can run, man. Don't fool around. That's and then Alaska, although it's fun, I can kind of take it or leave it. Like always, I posted my top 3, and as other people posted, I was like, crap, I forgot about other songs. I would probably take Alaska out and put Farmhouse in there instead in the meantime. Okay. This sounds like No Woman, No Cry to me. You wrote, what did you write here? I saw it. Wait for it. What a question. Love Caspian, would never leave for that one. I tend to try and stay for all the songs because I don't dislike any of them, but maybe I should have wrote that too. Death Don't Hurt Very Long, Yem Vocal Jam, and any a cappella song. I think I'm with you on that. I've got a thought on the Yem Vocal Jam. Why did you pick those 3? Death Don't Hurt Very Long. It's kind of catchy, but what? Just don't like it?
So again, I like all of the songs, right? I'm at the point,
yep.
But I'm thinking of like, what's my least favorite? Where I'm like, this Death Don't Hurt Very Long to me sounds like a part of a song, not an entire song based on that theme and that arrangement that just carries on for too long.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Just a bit repetitive.
Yem, the vocal jam in Yem, I appreciate it because again, it's incredible what they do with their vocals. It's just not my favorite. Like I understand it. I get it. I know what they're doing. Not my favorite. And the same thing with like the acapella. And again, I love the acapella. Like I have to rank it against everything else. Right? Like you've structured the question, so I have to pick something. So what am I going to pick? Because that's what makes it fun, right? To answer a question like that it's supposed to be hard. Like it's supposed to be hard because that's what makes it fun.
It's a forced choice.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
So the real answer is none of them.
The
real answer is what that one guy wrote. I'm an adult. I can hold it. Like I'm not going anywhere. But like, if I have to, I got a gun to my head and you're like, listen, asshole, you got to go pee 3 times during the show. Here's the set list. Where are you going? Here's where I'm going now.
Gotcha. Yeah, right. I was thinking too about your a cappella song. I don't know if you'd even be in a position to go to the bathroom for an a cappella song because they typically, if they do one, end with one or open with one. So you're probably not in the bathroom for either one of those. But I agree. When I hear them on live Phish or what have you, I'm just kind of meh, whatever. I'm glad that they like it. I have a story about the Yem Vocal Jam that happened last week, the day after I posted this. So I posted this last Wednesday, getting a lot of hate. So to speak. And then Thursday, I'm driving home. I'm listening to Phish, and I was listening to Bonnaroo Night 1 from 2009, June 12th. And they play Yem, and it's time for the vocal jam. It's coming up. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And they don't do vocal jam. They switch it up, and they go into Wilson. And I'm like in the car, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm excited to hear Wilson, because who doesn't love Wilson? It gets me charged up every time. But I felt a little bit let down and disappointed. Totally. And I thought, if I were at that show, how would I feel?
It's part of the song.
Yeah. Even though I openly don't really like it, I never skip it, for the record. When I'm listening to it, I let it play to the end and go into the next track. But I thought as they were playing Wilson, I'm like, geez, if I was there, how would I feel about that? They didn't play it. Would I feel special that they didn't play it? Because they always do. Would I just be like, oh. But then they play Wilson. And then they jam that out and come back around. And then there's a second You Enjoy Myself where the jam finishes and the vocal jam is in it. So they brought it back after me being let down that it wasn't going to play. And I thought, okay, there it is. All right. I let it play. So I was wondering if that was going to be a moment that's going to make me love that jam. And still not. But I did feel let down that they didn't play it because I've been trained to listen to it every single time.
They just, like that one, when they put Frank, what's that one show they put Frankenstein in the jam? It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But for like the 6 or 7 minutes until I knew it was coming back, I was like, I was kind of bummed out. Like it felt incomplete.
Totally.
Like it just stopped and the song didn't get finished. So, um, but yeah, I do want to say that I love the devotion of the fans when it comes to something like this. Like they're so loyal. They're getting upset about the post in general. They're being critical that other people are choosing to go to the bathroom and saying why this song is good. The amount of love, and all of this is coming from a good place, right? Nobody's attacking anyone personally, but the love for this band, even if there's a song they don't really like, the way that they'll like defend them to the earth, it's incredible. The devotion's amazing.
It's funny because when you wrote those songs, so here's how I read it, right? Because I've gone through this enough. I pay attention to how I respond to things because most people are going to respond the same way that I do, or at least some people will. I read your songs and I was like, Kill Devil Falls, fucking awesome song. Alaska? What the hell? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you, man?
Good. I wanted to poke the bear a little bit, right?
Like,
I mean, I could have gone crazy and put like Antelope and Harry Hood on there, but no,
somebody
that would just
put
be crazy.
Reba. I'm like, Reba, dude, this is Phish.
Yeah, but like we just said, it takes a bit of time with a lot of this music. It's complex, and look, I think if I were to post another top 3 on the exact same thing in 3 months, I'd probably have a different top 3. I'd probably change it because things can change. You called it out. You can go from not liking a song, something happens along the way, experiences where you're there, whatever it is, makes you like it, and that's okay. That's the whole thing. I mean, to kind of, I think I'd almost wear it as a badge of honor to say I used to hate this song and now I love it. Here's why. This is why it's good. Screw me for not liking it at first, But it's great that we're into a band that we can do that with. They'll just keep playing it and wear us down until they can pee in our ears, and no big deal.
Well, they're not gonna. Nice. They're not gonna wear us down. They just make the songs awesome, right? Like My Sweet One, fine. You might have an experience, but like other songs, like Kill Devil Falls, like you might not love that song, but there's some awesome jams in that song, man.
Yeah, and look, if I'm there and that's the opener, that's what comes out, and they're playing it, I'm into it. Like, great, I'll have a good time. What if I really, really have to go and that comes on? I'm gonna hedge my bets and run to the pisser and come back hopefully before a song that I really, really love comes on. And I'm sure there isn't a Phish fan out there who hasn't had that internal struggle or battle, or maybe they just piss the pants. I have no idea, but when nature calls, nature calls. What are you gonna do?
Yippers.
Yeah. So we'll try to keep stirring the pot on those types of things and see where else we can get. Mike and Leo, Noon. Did you listen to it?
Bunch of times. It's great. I love it.
Bunch of times. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a bunch of times. I'm a couple times through. I want to hear your thoughts. You obviously play the guitar. A really, really cool sounding album. Really, really good grooves on there. Different from anything. I haven't listened to the other 2 Mike and Leo albums. This was a third. So I don't really have much to compare it to, but I thought it sounded great. I thought the recording was really, really good. I Am Random has been stuck in my head for a couple weeks now, right? I keep walking around going, I am random. I can't stop singing that part. What are your thoughts? I mean, you really, really like it, eh?
I do. I like, listen, the songs are great. There's, I like the songs. I love so this is the first time I've heard Leo Kottke play, right? Like I've heard Tim Reynolds, which I haven't heard a lot, but I've heard him more than and I can see the comparisons. I'm just blown out. To be honest, I love the album. I love the songs. Everything's great. My 2 biggest takeaways are I love how percussive it sounds. And Mike Gordon is just an incredible player in the sense that he really plays for the song. Right? Like it really comes across. Like the notes that he chooses, the way that he plays, he's just about, making sure that this song does what it's supposed to do and it sounds the best possible. Like it's incredible. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's incredible with melody. I sent you a text a while ago. We were talking about Mike, and he never, at least in my opinion, he never overdoes it. He serves the song the way that it should be served. He enhances it live with live Phish and with his own stuff. Yeah, he's on point, and he's capable of slamming out a ton of notes and being one of those crazy bassists. But it's not about that. right? There's the odd jam where you see that fly. It's not about showcasing playability and skill. It's about the song. It's about the notes. It's about the melody. It's about the spacing. It's great.
I think that's just the anthem for Phish. I think that's the philosophy right there, right? They care more about the song and the energy than they do about like, look what I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, for
like,
sure.
It's just really refreshing when you hear Trey be like, "Oh, I get to hear the best bass player and the best drummer and the best piano player play every night," right? Like that's what I'm there for.
Yeah, and I'm sure they feel the same way about him and the other guys.
Yeah, the album's incredible, man. I've listened to it a bunch of times. I really like it. It fits I've heard it so many times because it just fits the atmosphere of The Office really, really nice. The songs are all like acoustic, so we can listen to it here comfortably. It's great. It's an awesome album.
Yeah. You often play Phish in your office?
No, definitely not live stuff. But like Trey's new album's been good. There's a couple of like studio albums that we can get away with, and a couple of the studio recordings that we can get away with. But nothing live.
What do you mean by get away with? Because it's just too different for your average person coming in.
Yeah, you want a good
right?
You want a good. So Phish is, if you put it on, people will hear it.
Right.
Right. It's amazing in the sense that it's not offensive, but you'll hear. Well, that depends who you ask whether it's offensive or not, because I'm sure some of the stuff that people's ears aren't trained to can sound offensive. But some of it rocks, and some of it's noisy, and some of it's dark, and some of it's aggressive, and it is a healing environment here. We gotta play nice music, like. Yeah.
I was wondering though if you've ever seen anybody getting turned on to it through that, but I can totally understand. It's you're trying to welcome as many people in as you possibly can, and that's not necessarily the best environment to try to convert someone. But it could be a happy accident. But how many people could you be? I guess it would be a bit uncomfortable if you're not used to that type of music versus playing something that's more. What do you play? Top 40? Do you have like serious
or what? We play like set lists, usually like acoustic stuff and like some loungy like EDM sometimes. But people are keep in mind the context, right? People aren't here. Hey, I'm gonna go see my chiropractor to get converted to a band. People are here to get healthy. You're not listening to the music, man. Right?
Yeah,
context is everything.
That's not where their mind's at. I get it. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna keep listening to Mike and Leo. I think I need to give it a couple more go rounds because I don't feel the same way you do about it, but I think it's because of lack of listening. Like I said, I've been listening to The Dead. Still haven't put down Phish. I'm plowing through 2009 and really liking that. Missing Carini. I haven't played it once in 3.0. And I honestly don't know when it makes a comeback, so I'll be legitimately surprised when it does happen. Last thing, dinner and a movie. So Labor Day weekend just wrapped up. We had 3 nights of dicks. Oh, so much dicks. So many dicks.
Phish loves dicks.
Yeah, 2012, 2015, and 2017. You watched what, Friday?
I actually watched because I didn't go away. I have a funny story about my dad. I watched every night. I watched it all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice. So it was, I think it was the last show, the one on Sunday. The kids went to bed because Rochelle was away. Rochelle was visiting her friends. The kids were away. I was at my parents' house, and I put it on, and my dad's there. And so funny. I'm like, how's this gonna go? So
and how well does he know the band? He obviously knows of them because of you, but he doesn't know the music really at all. You wouldn't play it in the car with him when you guys were like...
Probably, but like, come on.
A long time, right?
He's what is he going to say? Kids listen to crazy stuff. So I'm just observing what he's doing, right? He's sitting there on the couch and he's whistling and he's toe tapping, right? Because they played, it was a good time for him to tune in. It was during Prince Caspian, which is a really good song. The lights were awesome. The energy was good. It's a great, makes sense to a lot of people. It's easy to understand and enjoy. Toe tapping.
You didn't go to the bathroom?
No. Toe tapping, whistling, and he gets up and he just shakes his head. He goes, "Terrible. I'm going to bed."
Terrible?
Yeah.
While he was tapping his toes
and whistling. He's like he had that moment where he's like, oh wait, I'm enjoying life. I'm supposed to be a grizzled old Eastern European man.
Too much fun for Bogdan. Time for bed.
He's like, terrible. Good night.
Oh, that's great. And then you just kept watching.
Yeah, because I was like, you're crazy, man.
Was there any conversation? Did he ask anything? Just watching?
He asked how old they were. That's what he wanted to know.
Mm.
He was like, oh, they don't look. He goes, they don't look young anymore. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, it was 2017 was the last show, correct? I'm like, well, they're not. I'm like, they're even older now,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Late
but look at
50s,
that. I
early
go, but they
60s.
look great. They're healthy. I'm like, Jerry Garcia was dead. I told him, I go, Jerry Garcia was dead
Before.
before how old they are
Yeah.
now. I go, look how good they look, man. They look fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I just watched episode 6 of Long Strange Trip the other day. It was a dark episode, right? When Jerry dies of the Grateful Dead documentary, and yeah, he just didn't look good in those last years. Really, really heavy.
Is
He
that the
looked
last?
tired.
Is that the second to last episode?
The last one is when he dies. There's 6 episodes. The fifth one is
So
about deadheads, and then the
yeah.
sixth one is about really the second
Oh,
half of that
buddy, that
episode
was
is about is
heartbreaking, man. When he meets that new person, and he's happy, starts to get healthy, and he's like, "You can go now." I was like,
yeah, yeah. It's time for you to go. Can you imagine? Yeah, that was like a very visceral. Like that's in a movie with a guy breaking down. You can see that because he was using again and everything took over. Sad,
"Oh my
sad.
god, it was."
But yeah, so I love that documentary up to that point. I was just like, fuck. After watching that, and the years of music people got robbed of. But hey, it is what it is. It's history. What can you do? So, yeah. So dinner movie. I watched Saturday night. It was great. Friday night I didn't watch. I already have it. I've seen it, which is great. I'll obviously already listened to it. But yeah, the fact that it exists, the fact that dinner and a movie was even a thing. Obviously, it's going to continue, just not as frequent as we've become accustomed to. It's amazing. It's amazing the fact that we can tune in and watch it on demand, stream it live, have that couch tour with other fans. It's yeah, we're pretty lucky that we live in a time and age where that can be a thing,
I
right?
like.
This pandemic had happened 20 years ago, would have sucked.
I appreciate the gratitude of most fans, right? Like most people are like,
Mm-hmm.
"Thank you." Like this was
100%.
incredible. There's a few odd like. It's funny how quickly people think they're owed something, but
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
most part, just it's been awesome, man. It's been
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. They've gone to the archives and pulled out a few.
I have
And
an
what's great is all the old shows have made it onto live Fish too, which is awesome.
I have an
Right?
interesting question for you.
Okay.
So now looking back, this is actually good for the group. If you want to steal my content, go ahead.
Yeah.
Because you'll probably word it better than I will. But looking back now over all the dinner and the movies,
Mm-hmm.
would you have traded all those experiences in to go see them on tour for 1 or 2 shows?
Sure.
You would,
100%. 100%.
Because I don't think that I would.
Really?
Yep. I think like the time like bonding with my wife watching Phish. I think the experiences that I created around dinner and a movie for myself were so power. I don't think that I would trade them in to go to even if I had tickets for the whole tour. I don't think I would trade them in.
Interesting. Yeah, knowing that, I think that's a good answer. For me, I was kind of solo for most of it. I watched most of those dinner and movies late, like after they had aired.
Yeah, and I get
and
it.
started them over again at like 11 o'clock at night on the Tuesday into 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes finishing it on the Wednesday just because of my schedule. But I can totally see that, right? If it's something that, brought you closer or brought her into the band more, you can't replicate that. It's tough to,
For sure.
to assume that it could have happened in another way. For me, yeah, I think I would have enjoyed being at a live show more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Been watching them, and maybe I'm a bit spoiled with my setup here, and I've got the server, and I've got shows on, and I can kind of put on an old show
anytime,
whenever I want, right? So I think that has something to do with it, and for me, there's nothing that can replicate that live experience, especially since last year. I was talking about that with Megan the other day. I was saying, do you remember last year, the day of the Phish show, what I had said to you in the morning before Kreisha was coming to get me? And she goes, yeah, you were excited to see him. And you're excited to hang out with him and Andrew, but you weren't really talking much about the concert. And that was what I honestly thought. I thought that morning, like, yeah, it'll be fun with the guys, and the concert will kind of be whatever. Little did I know it was gonna totally change.
Little did you know your buddy is a evil genius mastermind.
Yeah, and was gonna change the course of my listening habits and what I choose to do on Tuesday mornings. Right? It's for the better, and I can't thank you enough.
Hey, you want to hear something? You want to hear something funny? So, like, how you can have like locations now, like through like on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because most of the planning gets done at home at my house. I call my house on location is the Evil Scheme Hatchery. That's where the evil schemes get hatched.
Evil scheme hatch. You twiddle your thumbs and everything. The evil scheme hatch. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a little wild ride, but anyway, it's I don't even know why I brought that up. Just about
right, because it's the end of
the experience of the live show,
and
right?
It's also the end of dinner and a movie. Like once a month is we're blessed for anything, but they're kind of like, all right, man, it's been enough.
Yeah, our tour would have been over.
Yeah,
right. The whole point was to put it out in lieu of a tour, and now it's we look ahead to, is there going to be a 2021 tour? I mean, so many things up in the air. It's scheduled, as we know. However, if this thing doesn't go away,
it's not going to go away. It's the flu. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be. It was here before this.
Yeah, I think so. I need an antibody test. I think I had it in like January, February.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah, there was a few people at my store that it went around, and we had never had that kind of illness before or after.
I know we're staying away from politics, but I mean, this isn't political. Like, we know it's been here before. It's not going away. So like, we need a strategy for how we're going to live with whatever it is.
Yeah. Information keeps changing too, right? And I think that's why a lot of people are they're done with it. What we knew in April and what we know now, and what keeps changing I think it's confusing. So many people, and they've given up, don't care.
For sure.
Right? Just ignoring it. Anyway, okay. Well, why don't we wrap it up there?
Yep.
Another week. I mean, a lot of good discussion topics. So join us next week when we'll talk more about how to get your friends and family into loving our favorite band, Phish. Have a great week.
See you guys.